The doctor's footsteps echoed through the empty Stargazer hallway as she made her way to the medical bay. She had hoped to rest before reaching their homeworld, but a call from the princess had disrupted those plans. The princess had only said there was a situation and that the doctor should come immediately. Upon entering the medical bay, the doctor was met by one of the princess's attendants and 3 guards. The attendant gestured to the hospital bed, where a strange creature lay. Its form loosely resembled the Vaneri race, but with 1 pair of arms missing. It was much smaller, about 2/3 the doctor's height, and its frame appeared delicate and frail. The creature's body was smooth and soft, suggesting an endoskeletal structure unlike the Vaneri. The doctor racked her brain, trying to recall all the alien races her people had encountered, but none matched this small being. "A new alien species?" she asked, and the attendant nodded in confirmation. He then explained that they had detected a strange, repetitive signal, which led them to an escape pod containing the unconscious creature. The air in the pod seemed similar to their own, and the princess wanted the doctor to ensure the aliens' well-being before proceeding with first contact protocols. The attendant and the guards headed towards the door. "We have already performed a standard sterilization. When it awakens, check its condition and then notify the bridge so the princess can meet it." One of the guards chuckled. "And be careful, that creature is heavier than it appears." Githai ignored the remark and closed the door. A silly grin appeared on her face as she could no longer contain her excitement. A new alien species, and she would be the first to examine it. This was the first new contact in 4 generations. The princess's popularity would soar if she brought it home. Enough of that. Time to focus on being professional. The doctor turned her attention to the alien. Its thorax slowly rose and fell, indicating steady breathing. Since there was little she could do until it awoke, Githai took a sampling card and carefully scraped off some cells from one of its exposed arms, taking care not to accidentally harm the delicate creature. The oversized bed made the alien appear even smaller than it already was. For a life form so fragile to have survived long enough to reach the spacefaring age, it must have come from a paradise world. The analysis showed it to be carbon and water-based, nothing out of the ordinary, except perhaps the high water content in its cells. Perhaps it was from an amphibious race. The alien began to stir and slowly opened its eyes. Seeing the doctor, it startled and quickly sat up, only to apparently become dizzy and hold its head. Githai had more or less expected this reaction. She carefully raised her 4 hands, showing they were empty and posed no threat. The alien seemed to understand the gesture. It remained wary but no longer panicked. Next, she took out a thin collar, placed it on the mattress, and pointed to her own throat. The alien gave her a suspicious look, but after a few moments, put it on. "Do you comprehend me?" the doctor inquired. The alien nodded. "Yes." Its voice was soft, almost meek. You are an extraterrestrial?" Githai chuckled. "Well, I suppose from your perspective, we are the aliens." That is simply marvelous." The alien sprang up and crawled over the mattress, momentarily startling the doctor. "Aliens! Real aliens! Where are the others?" "One thing at a time," the doctor said, attempting to calm it down. The sudden enthusiasm had taken her by surprise. "Our race is called Vaneri. My name is Githai. I am a doctor, and I would like to examine you so I can both learn more about your species and affirm that you are in good health. Then you can meet the rest." "Oh, right. Sorry, I got a bit excited. My name is Nal Erie, by the way. My race is called human." The doctor nodded. "Gender?" The pink color of the alien's face darkened slightly. I haven't yet. How is that even? Oh, wait, you mean, sorry. We have 2 genders, male and female. I'm of the latter. So nothing out of the ordinary there either. Would you say that, in terms of appearance and ability, you are a typical specimen of your race? For the females of my age at least, yeah. I train a bit to stay healthy, so in terms of ability, I'm probably slightly above average. I'm also in good health, as far as I'm aware. The doctor nodded again and took some. "Then, if you would please get up, I'd like to take some measurements." While Githai turned around to ready her instruments, Nal Erie began to speak. By the way, where exactly are we? This is the Stargazer, the vessel of our royal embassy. Oh my, sounds important. It is. The Stargazer is the ship of Her Highness Princess Ethera, who, speaking of it, will meet you once we are done. Naliri's face lit up. Wait, you're saying that I not only found aliens, I'll also meet their princess? Wow, this day couldn't get any better. So, you're familiar with how scales work? I step on them and the screen tells you my weight? Githai nodded. As Naliri stepped on the plate, a loud creaking noise became audible. The confused doctor looked at the display, but that only showed an error message. Did that contraption really break? I'm sorry. The doctor couldn't help but laugh. Did the petty girl really think that she broke it? No need to worry, that wasn't your doing. That device was designed for much larger beings. It can measure up to 500 Vs. It's likely just old. Did you hear the creaking sound it made? Anyway, please stand upright. Naliri did as asked. Her head barely reached Githai's thorax as the doctor scanned her. 282 lines, though that doesn't tell me much if I don't know your weight. Well, we can weigh you in Kalhanar. Excuse me, doctor. Githai looked up. Yes? Naliri tapped her collar. I can understand you because of this, right? What is this? It's a telepathic translator. When you speak, it scans your brain to find out what you intend to say, and then transforms the sound coming from you to the language it's set on. Same the other way. If something is said in the language it is set on, it conveys the intention of the words to your brain. Neat. Well, it has flaws, but better than nothing. Also, I'm sorry if it makes you feel uncomfortable. I know that many races consider wearing a collar as degrading. Necessary evil, innit? Any other questions, Doc? Well, I would like to know how much you can remember. How did you end up out here? Nothing too fancy. We found a planet that seemed hospitable, way more out there than anything we ever explored. A colony ship was sent there. It sounded like an awesome adventure, so I volunteered. I got woken up by an alarm and was told to go in an escape pod, so I did. No idea what the problem was. That's pretty much it. Speaking of, is the rest also here? Githai swallowed. I was not informed about any others. As far as I am aware, we found only you. Nal Erie's expression fell. Oh, that doesn't have to mean you are the only one left. Maybe you just got separated due to some unfortunate drifting, Githai assured her, though she didn't fully believe it herself. Do you have any way to contact your people? No. Both went silent, well understanding the implication. Nal Erie was alone. Do you know why you were unconscious? The doctor asked, hoping to shift the conversation. It seemed a bit too deep for a sleep. No, sorry. Do you have any indicator of how long you were out? I'm not terribly thirsty, so probably under a day. I'm afraid that doesn't tell me much if I don't know your homeworld's rotation speed. Ah, right. A day is 24 hours. I also do not know your units. Makes sense. Then, Githai paused, her gaze unfocused for a moment. Forget it. It was stupid of me to ask that. No, we can do that. Give me a sec. What is the speed of light in your units? The doctor didn't know what the human was trying to achieve with that knowledge, but if it distracted her, so be it. 748 Zuz 31,791 lines per tig, she said after looking it up. Okay, let's say 750. How tall was I again? 2.82 lines. Okay, I'm around 1.65 meters. So 1 meter is around 1.7? Yeah, 1.7 lines. Light speed is 300 million meters per second, so about 500 million lines per second, meaning 750 seconds is 500 tigs, then 1 tig is around 1.5 seconds, makes 1 minute 40 tigs, 1 hour 2,400 tigs, and 1 day for 48,9,600. Okay, so 1 day for me would be something around 57,600 tigs. Do you have some sort of neurological implant I overlooked? The doctor asked. None that I'm aware of. Are you telling me you just calculated all of that in your head? How much computing power does your brain have? Well, I rounded. Not knowing what to say, the doctor took out a calculator. 57,600, you said. So slightly shorter than our days, we have 62,000 tigs a day. or to use a bigger unit, 62 invas. Oh, with that we should be also able to calculate your age. One solar cycle has 202 days. Ah, so a factor of 1.8 with days about 10% longer? In that case, I'm around 24 cycles old, Githai noted, jotting down the numbers. Suddenly, a violent explosion rocked the ship. What was that? Naliri asked, alarmed. Are we under attack? Githai wondered as the alarm blared. The Kursnelv were known throughout the Alliance for their fierce and unyielding fighting spirit, being the sole carnivorous species among them. Though their ancestors had been scavengers rather than predators, this reputation endured. Krindle, however, was no such warrior, having joined the military more out of circumstance than true calling. Though her attempts to avoid standing out had been what made her stand out. Ambitious people always want to prove themselves, and that will always cause more problems than it solves. I don't need an ambitious commander. I need one who simply does their job. Jerk. Who promoted someone on that basis? Her efforts to dodge the path to advancement by portraying herself as risk-averse had achieved the opposite, because someone that resourceful is wasted on a small ship. Her trepidation about making the wrong choices led her to never make any decisions herself, instead deferring to those who seem more knowledgeable. By now it had gotten better. She now was in her position for about a cycle and a half, and she had learned that the chances of an attack were actually quite slim. Not because the Kirosha weren't out for blood, they still absolutely were. They simply showed no interest in fighting the patrol fleets. They preferred quick strikes against single targets, and if they should find a gap in the patrol, it wouldn't be Crandall's fault. She would simply stick to the plan. If the plan had such a gap, it wasn't her fault. Would someone else in her position regularly audit the plan? Maybe, but as stated, she was wholly unqualified for her position. Unfortunately, it was too late to go for a different career path. All she could do was hold out until she could afford an early retirement. The console on the other side of the room beeped. She hated that noise. It meant someone wanted to contact her, and it wasn't one of the regular reports that she would always pretend to evaluate, or understand for that matter. No, if this console beeped, something came up that the regular procedure didn't account for, which meant she had to make a decision, which meant another chance for her to mess up big time. Yes, Krindle responded, activating the communication channel. Ma'am, we are receiving a strange signal. It doesn't fit any code, but the way it repeats makes it look like a distress signal. Shit. I'm coming. Call Renzi to the bridge as well. Yes, ma'am. Krindle took a deep breath to ease her nerves before donning her insignia and making her way to the bridge. It wasn't far from her quarters, so the walk was short, way too short for her taste, but wishing for the walk not to end just meant it would feel even shorter. Alas, before she could do much to calm herself, she was already there. Surprisingly, Renzi was already waiting for her. Status, Crandall called, using one of the standard lines she had often heard other captains use. The operator quickly briefed Ranzi about what he had just told her. Ranzi was the hunter's lead engineer. Or was it lead mechanic, the guy responsible for anything tech-related? Once the operator was done, Krindle asked, And your assessment? R&DZ gave the data a quick glance before answering. There is either something interfering with the signal, or the source is about to run out of power. But even if we ignore that, it's far off from anything used within the Alliance, and the direction it comes from is also far away from the secure routes, for that matter. But to my knowledge, there are no records of the Kirosha using it either. It's definitely a distress signal, though. The sequence is too short and too repetitive to be anything else. Have we pinpointed the source with our telescopes yet? Operator? Crandall passed on the question. Not yet. The signal is weak, so it's hard to pin. Crandall did her best to appear calm. This was exactly the situation she wanted to avoid. Was there really someone in peril? Was this a trap? What should she do? Is someone traversing the bridgeway? She finally asked the operator. If yes, that would make the decision for her. No, we can take a look, Captain. Which ships should I give the order to move? The operator asked, clearly misunderstanding her intent. Order the flotilla to follow, she said. All, ma'am? Yes, we cannot risk this being a trap. The order was relayed, and the formation changed course. They were quite distant from the secure route, a fact that made Krindle quite uneasy. when they finally spotted it through the telescope. "That's a Kirosha raider," she exclaimed. "It appears to be powerless. Do we have any energy readings?" Ranzi inquired. "None, but it is the source of the signal," the operator confirmed, allowing Krindle to avoid full panic. "We should attempt to salvage it," Ranzi suggested. "It could provide invaluable insight into their technology." Krindle hesitated, but decided to heed the advice of her more qualified crew. "Surround the raider, but keep your guns trained on it at all times. Pursuer, prepare a boarding party," she commanded over the open channel. The captains acknowledged the order. As the pursuer's boarding tunnel extended, Krindle ordered, "Keep the comm channel open. If the Kirosha appear to still be aboard, seal off the tunnel immediately." The response sounded unenthused, understandably so. Shortly before the tunnel reached its target, it halted. "The airlock appears to be destroyed, ma'am," the report came. A photograph showed the airlock in a state of severe damage, as if something had been forcibly removed. "Requesting authorization to create an opening." "Authorization granted." As long as the boarding crew seemed to know their task, she would simply proceed with caution. The pursuer shifted position and connected the tunnel to a flat surface on the ship's side. It took time to cut through the wall. Artificial gravity is absent, seeking approval to activate the pursuer's gravity field. Approval granted. As the squad boarded the small ship, Crandall realized she hadn't confirmed if they all wore spacesuits. They likely did. Anything else would be illogical. Oxygen levels are low, but breathable. Temperature remains above freezing. Then the life support cannot have been off long, though the insulation quality matters. "Ma'am, you may want to summon Dr. Monaker as well." Crandall nodded and called the ship's physician to the bridge. Soon after, the next report arrived. "Area clear. Sending image." "That appears to be Veneri technology," Renzi commented upon seeing the room. "Interesting," Crandall replied, unsure what else to say. The doctor joined them, and after a brief update, the next report came. "We found 2 dead Kirosha. Sending image." The photograph showed the mangled bodies, one with a caved-in side, the other nearly bisected. While those monsters' demise was welcome, the cause troubled Crandall. Dried purple blood was smeared, likely due to gravity deactivation and reactivation. "Doctor?" "Well, the cause of death is quite evident. Estimating time of death from the picture is difficult, but it wasn't recent. Assuming RNDZ is correct and power has not been off long, I'd say 30 to 40 days ago." The news that they had been dead for so long was somewhat reassuring. But a raider is commonly crewed by 5 Kirosha, and with the ship still somewhat habitable, the other 3 could still be alive. The boarding crew split into 2 teams and combed through the ship. It wasn't long before they discovered 2 more deceased Kirosha, killed in a similar gruesome manner as the first 2. "We've located the door to the bridge," one team announced. "It's locked, but we can cut it open." "Wait until the 5th Kirosha is confirmed dead," came the order. The other team soon reported, "We found the 5th one, also dead. And there's something else. Sending image." RNDZ examined the picture, noting, "It appears to be an escape pod, but not one I'm familiar with. That could be the source of the signal." "This Kirosha died much more recently," the doctor beside Crandall pointed out. "About 15 to 20 days ago." Crandall studied the new image the team had sent. "What in the world is that?" she asked the doctor, perplexed by the unfamiliar entity.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.